Welcome to our latest user guide. And it's one I'm really excited to do because it's one of our own cars. It's the Gordon Murray T.50, or the T.50 as it's written. And this represents the 50th design by Gordon Murray himself. And it's acclaimed to be his McLaren F1 debugged. The McLaren F1 was his 22nd design, so you can see how much he's done in between. So he had 30 years of thinking about what he would have done better, differently, and optimized. And this is the end result. It's a car built completely in England over the last 2 years, first delivered in 2024. Units are still being produced here now in 2025. There are about 60 out of the just 100 production examples built so far being delivered, with all of them set to be delivered by the end of the year. So this is it, a fantastic car. Central seat, manual gearbox, 6-speed, V12, naturally aspirated, carbon tub. It's everything that makes for a formula for the ultimate users and drivers road car. And we've done nearly 1,000 miles in this car so far, and I can assure you it is utterly fantastic. But we're here today to talk about the car and using it and owning one and what it might be like to be around a car like this. So here goes. First off, as I mentioned, all carbon fiber tub. It's a V12 engine that produces 664 horsepower from just 4 litres of capacity, naturally aspirated, as I mentioned before. And it is designed by Cosworth, and it's the most power-dense V12 ever fitted to a road car. And it weighs just 178 kilograms, so it's an absolute masterpiece. And every great car has to be built around a great engine, and that is hard to beat, that engine, when you just think about those stats. As the car sits here today with just under half a tank of fuel and all its fluids and ready to go up the road, it weighs in at just over 1,100 kilograms. And for today's standards, in considering that we have to pass all sorts of crash tests and all sorts of safety criteria, that is again outstanding and a real achievement of the Gordon Murray Group. So, fantastic car. We've got carbon ceramic brakes all round. We've got individualization in terms of specification. Everyone went to the factory and specified their car from new. No two cars were allowed by Gordon Murray to be identical. Every single car produced out of the 100 production cars is different to the next, which is a great thing again. A little bit about this car. This is chassis 31. Why chassis 31? Well, when we ordered this car, we went through the cars that we had sold in terms of McLaren F1 chassis numbers, and 31 was the first one that was available. So for us, it was a little bit nostalgic. The color. This is Velvet Passion. It's a purple. And why purple? Well, for us, David's first competition car was in a purple metal flake color. It was a Ford Popular drag racer fitted with a Jaguar straight-six engine back in the early 1960s. So it's a real nod to that. Moving to the interior, we have black Alcantara dash, black Alcantara center seat centers for the passengers with a leather surround. And then the driver's seat is not bridge of weir leather as per all other T50s delivered, but because of our Ferrari connection, it's a Connolly Vomol VM8380, which is Bentley green, a color that we actually trimmed a 250 GT Lusso that we fully restored a few years ago, and it was so popular that we just had to go for it. And that combination of purple versus green interior isn't necessarily one that you would automatically think works, but for us, it works. And I think it particularly works in this car because you never actually look at the green against the purple. You look across the black passenger seats and the black dash area to just that driver's seat. Then our steering wheel, again, that is trimmed in the Connolly leather, the green Connolly leather on the outside for the driving zone. But the rest of it is predominantly black. We have no stripes on the carpets like most cars, no stripes on the ceiling. We have champagne gold, GMA V12 Cosworth, and the Gordon Murray logo on the plenum chambers. We have the light champagne gold brake calipers, light silver wheels. Then the final detail in this car, which I particularly like, is that we have the body color painted stripe across the windscreen pillar and the top of the door, coming to the end here with just a really subtle break in the exposed carbon fiber, which is really, really special. And on the other side of the car, where the T50 logo is, it is infilled in the same champagne gold as the inlet manifold and the brake calipers. Then one other special feature on this particular car, which I believe is unique in the production run, is that we have 2 different finishes of carbon fiber. So for the exposed carbon fiber on the outside of the car, it's all gloss, but as a special request, when you open the door, the side of the tub, instead of being gloss like the exteriors, we went for satin. Another feature on this is that we had a painted front bumper. Some cars have carbon fibre exposed here, but the insides of the cooling ducts here are in gloss carbon fibre. Then for the tops of the doors, we have the glass inserts, which are slightly heavier than the carbon fibre panels. However, we feel that it makes the interior have a bit more of a spacious feeling, slightly less claustrophobic. In terms of specification, that's pretty much it. Then, of course, the number plate TS01, which looks like T51, makes it instantly recognisable. All the cars came with a 4-piece luggage set, which fits into the panniers on either side, which I'll show you in a minute, as well as, very much like the McLaren F1, we have a full tool chest, which has drawers full of tools, which are bespoke to the car, as well as this iPad, which goes in the car, and you can use that with leads to connect up and reset any functions and things like that you may have along the way, which is actually a very useful tool with such a hand-built car like this. So gaining entry to the T50, we've got this really marvellous key, which is made from titanium and has just 4 buttons on it. It's got the chassis number inscribed on the back, and the top 2 buttons, they open the left door or open the right door. The middle one locks it, and the bottom one opens all panels at the same time, i.e. both doors and the engine bay panels. So if we give the top left one just a quick push, that will open the driver's door like that. And if I press and hold it, it will open the engine bay cover, which sometimes might need a helping hand like that. So that opens the engine bay cover, which also gives you access to your side pannier here. Now, this is a good time to come on to just closing the panels. So when the car is cool, easiest way is we just grab the sides of the engine bay cover and we put it down. It's got a soft close function and it will close itself like that. Unfortunately, it does mean that you end up with some fingerprints on the car. You shouldn't go in there too often. And to avoid fingerprints on the doors, what I tend to do is I use the sill here to close it. And I just push it down, and again, it's soft closed, so it clicks closed, and that opens it up. And that leads me on to a second way that we can open the doors. So if the key is in your pocket or it's inside the car, on the inside of the mirror, just here, there's a button. And if you press that, it opens the door. So before I get into the car, I'm going to show you chargers. I'm going to pretend that we've just put the car away and we're going to put it on trickle charge. So there are 2 trickle chargers for this car, one for the main battery and one for a hidden smaller battery. Inside the door shut here, we've got this little switch which you pull, and again, that can open this bay here. I've got one trickle charger point in here, which is the smaller one. So I'm just going to grab the charger, and it's a very simple C-Tech system that you plug in just here. What I like to do is I like to run it through this gap here in the wheel arch, leave the trickle charger on the top of the wheel, and then I have another extension lead at the back, and I'll plug it in. Obviously, closing this is much like we discussed already. Just push it down and it'll close. Little point on the engine covers. Sometimes if you've been for a drive and the engine's really hot, it may struggle to close. And in that scenario, if you just leave it to cool down for a couple of minutes and just let it do the soft close function, it'll work. Now, to plug in the main trickle charger, just on the edge of the dash on what I call the driver's side. So you treat this as a left-hand drive car, always getting in the left-hand side because you've got the gearbox on the right-hand side of the driver. There's a button on the end of the dash here, and if you press that, it'll open it. Now, the car's been left for a few minutes and it's gone to sleep. So we'll just need to press one of the buttons just once again and it'll come back to life. And we see that the button here is lit up, so we press that and it opens the front. Now, I've put my car on charge quite a few times, so I've developed a bit of a technique here. So we'll start from the front, from the side here first. I'm just going to fetch the charger so we can put it on charge. So this is my main charger unit. What I tend to do is leave it down the side and underneath the driver's door. So that's just here. So I'll leave that there for now. Ready to plug into the extension lead at the back of the car with the other one. And this is my charger lead. So to make it really neat and tidy, I'll feed the charger through the hinge and between the strut up to the windscreen. And then I'll run that along the top of the windscreen scuttle, underneath the arch, into the top here. And in the left-hand side of the luggage compartment, there's a magnetic fixing point. So you put it in there, that's on, and you can just close this down. You can close that cover if you want, or if you want to just leave it ajar like that, that's fine. And then we can hide the cables underneath the car like this. We can have the charger just on display. Obviously, we've got the other trickle charger sitting on the rear wheel. When we go to close the door, it's just there so you can keep an eye on it. You don't have all sorts of ugly cables And on the front of the car, you've got no cables leaning on the paintwork. So that's a really nice, neat way to hide your cables. So next up, time to get in the car and get yourself ready for a drive. So remember the key, got to make sure the car is awake by pressing the unlock button. And the key gets placed in this little shelf just behind the driver here, and it has to sit there and be nice and close to the sensor. Getting into the car, so the easiest way is to sit on the sill here, on the carbon fibre, move your legs to the driver's footwell, put your arm over to the right-hand arm, over to the other side of the seat, brace yourself, lift yourself over and into the car. It's a lot easier to get in than the McLaren F1 because, of course, you haven't got that central spine. So we're sitting in the car itself. The steering comes pre-set up to the driver's requirements at original build. The seat can slide forwards. It's got a traditional lightweight lever under the front that you grab with your hand. It goes full width. Pull it up, and you can go forwards and backwards with the seat. So, once we're in position, next up, we're going to fire the car into life in terms of getting it ready to fire up. So to the right-hand side of the driver here, we've got this center column, which has got all of our main controls. We've got gear lever, obviously, with reverse lockout. The start button is under this button here. We've got the controller that controls the sort of in-car entertainment as well as the computers, hazard lights, door lock button, traction control button, and then your windows, so up and down here and here. So first things first, let's fire the car into life. So we've got to make sure the car hasn't gone to sleep, which it hasn't. And then we put our foot on the clutch and we just lift this tab and we press the button just once, short and sharp, with our foot on the clutch. This causes the whole system to go into sort of startup mode. The rev counter goes all the way to 13 and back again, and all of the gauges fill together and fire up. So next thing is, again, to start the car, you just press the button once again, not to hold it for too long, just a quick, short, sharp push. And when you do that, it'll sound like the engine started, and then actually it'll really start, and it always frightens everyone. So here goes. That's your pre-starter, and then... and even our cameraman jumped. So it's very much a driver-focused position to sit in, as you can imagine. The main thing that hits you is this amazing rev counter, taking us all the way to the 12,100 red line. It's an H-pattern gearbox, so it's to the left and forwards for first gear. Now, to operate the reverse lockout, we pull this little toggle back, and then reverse is open, and we go all the way to the left and back, and we're in reverse. And you'll notice that the reversing camera automatically comes on when you're in reverse. If we put it back in neutral, then we need to just push that little reverse lockout back to being forwards again, and it's again locked away. So looking at our infotainment, that's basically this right-hand screen here. We've got all of the air conditioning controls and the infotainment that sort of all runs through there. So we'd actually need the car running for the fan system to work, but I can talk you through it now. So on the screen here, it tells us the temperature at the top, and then of course the fan speed. So you've got your fan speeds on the top dial here, which you can have, if you press in the middle, it's recirc, or press it again, that'll turn it off, and it's air from the outside world. You go from all the way, obviously, from anti-clockwise to clockwise, from low up to full, and your fan speed will change below. The next dial down is in terms of temperature. So you can set the temperature between 0 and 26 degrees, or whatever the range may be. And then you can manually do that. Now, if you press auto, obviously that will control the fan speed and try and maintain that temperature for you. Finally, on the bottom one, you can split fans between your feet, or your feet and at your face, or just at your face. Moving to the infotainment, so the center switch is your home switch, which is very straightforward. It takes you to the menu. That right-hand screen changes to your list, and you use the navigation wheel to take you up and down. So you've got everything from media to calls, that's your telephone, settings, devices to connect to your telephone, Apple CarPlay, which for your iPhone you can use, and then finally at the bottom, your rear camera view. If you press the dial in on that, it'll ask you to confirm that this function is for track use only and not road legal. Press it again, you proceed, and then you've got your rear camera on the whole time. So moving back down, we've got our hazard lights, our door locks, and our traction control, as well as our mode button. So if we press and hold it once, it'll go into sport mode. If we press and hold it again, it turns contraction completely off, which personally is my recommendation. Finally, we've got the windows. So This is the left, this is the right. If you push it down, window goes down, and you lift it towards you, the window comes up. The other question that people often ask is, how do I open the doors? Well, quite simply, there's a switch just here which opens the door and it will open manually. So on this side, I can do that. And because it's got the auto open system, it's very easy. There's a handle just up here, which is very easy to pull down. You pull it down, you just let it click, and obviously the soft close then takes over. The rear view cameras on the side of the car are cameras on this car. So you have cameras and you have each side in here in view. A little trick that I've learned, and please don't take this for gospel, you have to learn yourself, but I find that if I can read the number plate of the car behind in the right-hand lane when I'm on the motorway, then that means it's far enough for me to pull away. As soon as that number plate, assuming it's in the centre of the car, becomes slightly obscured, it's too close for me to pull out. And it's a bit of a rule of thumb. It's a little bit confusing because you're not supposed to use the rear view camera on the road, but it is very useful on the motorway when you're on those long, straighter roads to see what's behind you. But because they have a different depth of field, it's a little bit confusing. So just these little quirks, but personally I've kind of got used to it. Each side of the driver, you've got these two little cubby holes. You've got your USB charger point in here, and it's quite a useful place to leave your phone. And I found actually that it's super useful with the Apple CarPlay, how easily it works with the system, and the stereo actually being, even though it's super lightweight, Arcam, British of course, is actually really, really good quality. And a nice little detail on this car is that we've got our little DK logo here on the inside of the glove boxes. So moving back to the cockpit, on the left-hand side, you've got all sorts of different readings in terms of scrolling through the different menus of the settings of the car, the range, any faults that may be in process, the fan speeds, those sorts of things. And we use this little lever on the left-hand side of the steering wheel on the front to go up and down with those. We can press it in and we can select things. We can hold and press to dismiss any warnings there may be, like it telling me that the doors are open. In the middle of the rev counter here, you've got a little orange light for the oil temperature button. So obviously you don't want to rev the car hard and high if that oil light is on. This car is actually fitted with the Touring 6th gear, which means that there's a much longer 6th gear, which is super comfortable for those long motorway journeys when you're doing 70 miles an hour. You put it into 6th and the revs drop right down. But what that does mean is that over an extended period of time, that orange light may come on. And what we have to do is just slip it into 5th, go up the revs a little bit, nice and gently, until the oil warms up again and that light goes off. Horn. The horn is on the back side of the steering wheel here. It's just a one pull together, one pull towards you, and that'll make the horn go. The flash is on the opposite side, so like the horn pull, it's on the opposite side. Press it once and it flashes the lights. And if you want to go onto main beam, you press and hold it for long enough, and then it will hold main beam. And then to go back to dip, you just press it once and it goes back to dip. Then on the right-hand side of the steering wheel, we've got another one of these swivel knobs. And this controls the stereo in terms of turning it on and off and controlling the volume. To get through to sort of your Apple CarPlay, again, you go through the menu here, you press the home button, you scroll through, you get to Apple CarPlay, and you can control your mobile phone from the screen here. Over to the left-hand side here, so we haven't done these switches, but it's very simple. You've got your different fan modes between 1, 2, and 3. You can also do a test function by pressing and holding it when you're static. The next knob down is for your headlight. So this at the top is in auto. If you go once, that's your dip lights. If you go one more, that's side lights as well. And then if you go all the way around, that's 0. And then if you press the button in, then that turns your rear fog light on. So I'll leave those on auto. Then you've got your windscreen wipers. So you either have them on auto, high, low, or 0. And if you go to the menu in here and you go to your settings, you can actually control the speed of the intermittent wipe. So for the fan itself, it's got auto mode, which is usually where we leave it, this top knob. But we can go 1, 2, or 3. We've got 3 different modes. 1 is for high downforce mode. 2 is for streamline mode, whereby it makes the car have a virtual long tail and be a little bit more slippery. And 3 is VMAX mode, which is the full aerodynamic efficiency, so that the car has as fast a top speed as possible. Finally, if we press and hold this button when we're running the car outside, I won't do it in here, then it does a fan test mode, which is a bit of a show-off thing. On to accessories next. So the car comes with a whole wealth of booklets and magazines that we were sent during the build process, during the development process, before we even ordered the car, as well as the items that we received when we specified the car in terms of original colour samples, original leather samples, and things like that. But in terms of the running items that come with the car, first of all, when we look in the front, so remember, we press the button on the end of the dash, making sure the car is awake, and we can open the front. Very similar to the McLaren F1 over there. In the front here, we have the towing eye, we have a wheel socket, we've got somewhere to fill up the washer fluid level, and we've got a small amount of tools in here as well as the connection for the magnetic battery charger. And to close this, it's a very lightweight panel, so it's a bit tricky. We just got to remember that the latch is about 3 inches down, and we just press down on it and close it like that. Now, all of the cars have come with a full luggage set. So these are designed so that they can sit on top of each other like this, on each side of the engine, inside the pannier. So you've got a huge amount of storage space, considering usually you might only have 2 people in the car, so you've got the third seat as well. Then we've got this huge chest, which is obviously got the chassis number of the car, and this should come with every car. So within the chest is a lot of tools, a little bit like the McLaren F1, from sockets and spanners, all laid out in these special cut-out tools by Facom: torch, pliers, hammer, torque wrench. And then in the top drawer, we have the pad, which I recommend buying your own cover for and taking everywhere with you, because it can be really useful. This is a way for you to connect to your car and reset anything. And actually, as long as you're on Wi-Fi, even the factory can connect to the car. So it's very straightforward. So you take your iPad and you take your lead, which is what plugs into the OBD port in the footwell. So when we look in the footwell here, on the left-hand side, just above the clutch rest panel, there's this little panel which we take out. And this is your OBD port, which plugs straight into that. And then we're in. And then we can plug into the iPad, and we can patch into the factory. We can run some checks if we've got some faults running. This quite often happens when perhaps the car's been run at very sort of long periods of time in 6th gear at low revs, or even if the fuel's a bit stale, or little bits and pieces. And it's a really good preventive measure, because obviously that engine is an extremely highly strung, expensive, special piece of kit. So we have to take very, very good care of it at all times. I won't go into the intricacies of the iPad today. It's just good to know that if you're buying a car, you should get your head around how to use one of these and how it works. It's ever so easy, and it saved me a couple of times when I've been on a longer trip. So we've just operated the fan mode by pressing the button on the left here once and then pressing it again. And just one other thing is, the car is actually noisier when it's in neutral than when it's in gear. So if you listen, if I put it in gear, it actually quietens down. So the trick is, whenever you start the car, make sure it's in neutral so it has that real wow factor. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the user's guide. Now it's time to go for a drive.
What?